Hey friends, Dawn here, welcoming you to the Soul Goals podcast and year number 3. This year, we are diving into expanding our perspectives, challenging our belief systems, and working the mental and emotional muscles of our souls. Though still all about growth and connection, this year finds opportunities to hear from people in our communities that have walked a path that might be different from our own, but that ultimately present us with the chance to look at a subject in a different light and learn other ways we could approach challenges in our own world. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Soul Goals. Got my friend Rick Beresford with me today, and we're going to talk about inner peace. And I want to just say, Rick has been a friend. You and your wife have been a friend of mine for multiple years. And I look at your life and everything that you have walked through and where you are now. And Deanna, your lovely wife, and I often talk about what a sweet, calm, peaceful person you are as you walk through this life. And I mean, yes, you're laughing about that, but let me back up for a second before we get into all of that and just let everybody know, all the listeners know, you are a well-known songwriter here in the Nashville, Tennessee area. You are a songwriting coach and mentor for a lot of songwriters. You're also an educator at Belmont University here. You also teach seminars at Blair School of Music too, and you work a lot with veterans with your songwriting.
Yeah. PTSD veterans. We work through Creative Vets, which is working with Blair School of Music at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So we do it just regular semesters like college. There's 12 classes each semester. Except for the summer.
Yeah. But what a gift to be able to give that creativity to someone else, for them to be able to uncover those wounds that they may have stuffed away. And you talk about that PTSD, and that's probably a really, really integral part of their healing overall, is to open up that can and be able to find that self-expression. And then I feel like when I've done that in the past, it creates this really big sense of peace for me in my life around maybe something that has got a lot of angst to it and kind of just turmoil to it underneath.
Well,
but
what we do is what Richard Casper said to me is our goal is to turn the warrior mind into the artistic creative mind, which is one of the greatest gifts. I mean, it really made me realize the importance and the power of music and art in our lives. It really was like, here is a living, real example of talking about peace, bringing peace to the minds of to the brains and the emotions of these people that have been so hurt emotionally by the things that they've seen and done. But you can see the difference. You can actually, it's noticeable.
Right.
When they write a song, there's something about writing a song about your stress and your anxieties and your events and your feelings. Something about doing that cathartic transition takes place, whereas the pain becomes art. It becomes something, enjoyable.
Right.
Like suddenly you've turned your pain into poetry.
Yes.
And lyrics and song and chords, and you want to listen to it. You want to listen to your pain. It's bizarre. And that version of my pain is now this pretty little art form. And not only does it make me feel good to hear it, but other people like it too. I mean, other people like to hear this.
Yeah.
And so I'm entertaining people. And so I'm getting more people to understand how I feel. So I'm getting this empathy that I never had before. The opportunity to expand my empathy to other people. And that is part of the cure is that, expanding into the community, my story, my feelings, and
Right.
in the form of art that's actually enjoyable. And it's funny, art, well, songwriting, art too, but songs can be very painful. But
Mm,
there's something about it. There's something, again, the cathartic word. There's something, people actually enjoy painful songs. It's funny because they're not feeling it themselves, but they're feeling it removed. What's the
yeah.
word I'm looking for?
Relatable. It's
Yeah, yes.
relatable. Yeah.
There's a word that I'm looking for when you feel someone else's pain, but you're not feeling it, but you understand it and you can hear it. It is
Mhm.
that cathartic thing. Um, I'll think of it in a minute. But at any rate, moving on. Yeah,
Well,
it's very important in my life, having working with these people, because I realized after working with them that I too had PTSD. I'd had
mm,
I'd had clinical depression, starting, and when I was when I had a band in Austin. I woke up one morning just completely physically ill with
mm,
no reason. Because we're talking about peace now. That's the opposite, isn't it?
yeah,
Of
yeah.
peace. So that's when I started realizing, I think subconsciously, that I had to do some work.
Yeah.
Something wasn't right because I was living, la, la, la. Everything was lovely. I've got a guitar. Yeah, I'm going to go out and play some songs, do, 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 do. And then suddenly one day, the darkness just came in and just pounded, just crushed me.
Mm,
And I'm going, what is happening to me?
mhm.
So that was the beginning of realizing, the low of my life.
Yeah.
Later came to realize that it was from being in the Vietnam War, and launching 5 missions a day, and bombing, sometimes not always soldiers. Sometimes they bombed, innocent people.
Yeah.
War is a mess. War is a mess, especially in the jungle where those villages are way out in the middle of nowhere. Nobody,
Mm,
no reporting to them.
mhm.
People had very little electricity, if any. So they weren't calling up going, "Hey, people are bombing us." No, they're out there. It was a mess.
Yeah.
So knowing all that, and being responsible for launching all those planes, that was my job, was to make sure the planes got off, correctly. We had to get the ship up to speed so that they could launch, because it had to have 32 knots of wind over the bow. And in Vietnam, in the Gulf of Tonkin, no wind.
Mm,
Many days, it was just absolute. I mean, the ocean, the sea was glass, just
yeah.
glass. You're going, okay, boys, we got some work to do.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
enough
let's
of
talk
that.
a little bit about that darkness, like what you're talking
Yeah.
about, that PTSD and that deep depression and those
Mhm.
places where all of that sits
Yeah.
and what that can do for your process of peace. Because if I look at you now, and obviously, like we obviously, like we have aged, we have walked through many experiences, as you're drinking your coffee, as I do the same, right? We got to have our coffee.
Forever, I'm forever Christmas, right?
There you go. Oh, I
Yeah.
almost brought my Christmas mug out
And
this week. I
that's
should have.
Christ's birthday. Oh, Christ's birthday. Okay.
There you go.
Good reminder, you
There
know, a good
Yeah,
reminder every day,
yeah.
you know?
I wanna say, though, if you think about all of the stuff that you've walked through and where you are now, and you get to that point, do you believe that you can have inner peace without having turmoil or darkness? Do you believe that's a possibility? Or do you think that you have to have those experiences that force your hand to really self-examine what's
Yeah,
meaningful for you?
yeah. Uh, okay, I can only talk, from 2 positions.
Okay.
From my personal position, and from the teachings of Buddha. And I don't know, maybe Christ talked about this too, but Buddha specifically, the Buddhist philosophy, because Buddhism is more of a philosophy. It's not really a religion.
Right.
Buddhism is a philosophy of life. And their philosophy states that the only way, and I mean the only way to reach enlightenment is through pain and sorrow
Mhm.
and
Mm.
sadness. And the point, I couldn't understand this at first, but the point there, and what helped me very much to understand it was, and this goes back to the beginning of my spiritual journey, was Alan Watts when I was in San Francisco in 1968 through 73. I was a long-haired hippie musician, smoking joints and drinking cheap wine in Golden Gate Park. But I had a band, two bands actually. And every Sunday morning, I discovered this wonderful man named Alan Watts, who is a philosopher and a sailor. He wrote a book about sailing.
Okay.
But I would, no matter how late I stayed up Saturday night, I made a point of waking up Sunday. It was on at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we listened to KQED, Alan Watts, and he talked in very Western terms about Zen
Mm.
and about Buddhism. And one of the things he talked about was, you know, st- starting in the mud, starting in the muck is, when you feel that, that is that is the opening to the path to
Mm.
enlightenment. And
Mm.
enlightenment is peace.
Yeah.
Enlightenment is peace. Because when you feel enlightened, I know that sounds very kind of bougie and all, but actually, you know, a peaceful feeling is part and maybe part and parcel and 100% of enlightenment is just feeling unconditional inner peace.
Right.
Yeah, and so he talked about it in many different ways, lots of different stories. Really interesting guy, very, very interesting. He's written many books about his journey
Mhm.
and about his philosophy. So the one he said that he wrote for his children was a book called The Book. So
Okay.
if you want to
Okay.
start with you, if you want to start and figure out who he is, that would be a good book to start with. Is The Book by
Okay.
Alan Watts. So he got me started on this idea. You understand when you're in your 20s and you're just a kid and you're just woohoo, no more parenting. I can do what I want. I'll go buy some Cheez-Its. I'll eat 3 hamburgers,
Yes.
I'll eat 10 orders of fries. You just do what you want to. A whole bag of gummies. Um, you know, uh, this whole idea of, you know, falling into the pits before you can get enlightened. It sounded, okay, whatever, let's
Mm.
write
Mhm.
another song. Let's get out there and play.
Yeah.
Let's find a woman and let's have love and wear colorful clothes. Woohoo!
Yeah.
So it didn't really hit me until what we talked about earlier. When I woke up one day in Austin, I'd moved to Austin, Texas, and when I woke up that day with like a steamroller had just crushed me to the concrete.
Mm.
Uh, it was a hideously horrible, dark feeling, and it
Yeah.
took weeks and weeks for it to go away. I went to a chiropractor, an old-fashioned old guy. He must have been 70, and he did all this weird stuff on me. At any rate, it took three weeks. My neck was stuck like this. I couldn't
Oh,
move.
wow,
I
Rick,
was so tense. So I'm going on stage playing like this.
with your neck
I
all
couldn't
crooked.
straighten my head out.
Right.
This uh, this muscle here had spasmed
Mhm.
3 weeks.
Mm.
So anyway, that was the beginning of, that's the beginning when you go, oh, okay, so there is this darkness,
Mhm.
and of course the PTSD from the aircraft carrier, um, that was one of the times when I was at my darkest, was in Vietnam,
Mhm.
on that carrier. I was scared. I was proud to be an American and doing, fighting for America. But at the
Right.
same time, I had shame. Uh, I had guilt. And doubt,
Mhm.
as a lot of us did back then, because back then, there was a draft. So people from all over the country were getting in the military. It wasn't just volunteer. It was people from every walk of life. So, some of us were there. We didn't want to be there, but we're there. And,
Mhm.
well, okay, we're here. And I'm an American, so I'm serving, and that's good. My dad was a captain in the Navy, and I was proud to be there. Uh,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you're having all these other feelings because I'm a feely, touchy, arty kind of guy. It's not my DNA to be a soldier. Some
Yeah.
people, it's their DNA. They're dum 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 dum. That's some people are just like wired that way, and
Right.
God
Right.
bless them.
Right.
Uh, I'm wired like just whoop whoop. I have ADD like you can't even believe. It's just, so it's very hard for me to focus on stuff
Mhm.
that I'm not interested in. So anyway,
Mhm.
that was the beginning. And so I realized at that point, when I was, in Austin in the darkness, that I needed to do some work.
Yeah.
So that was the subliminal beginning of my journey was there.
So, when you realize that, how do you start really diving into unpacking the mud, if you will? Like
Yeah,
getting in the mud, like you talked about, we have this mud that is this gift for us to understand more about ourselves. And that's where that enlightenment, that's where that inner peace really starts. I was listening to something earlier today and it was talking about, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, we have our dreams, we work to them, and then we usually have an obstacle or a challenge that sets in place. But if we look at all of the bigger picture as this greater thing that can benefit us, that we tend to switch to a place of gratitude, and then unpacking those things and finding that inner peace becomes a lot easier for us to assimilate, a lot easier for us to go, all right, you know what, I can do this today. I can do this today. It may
mhm,
not be pretty, but I can do this today.
mhm,
And then with that comes this sense of this inner calm that you got it. Like I can pat myself on the back. Like I
right,
can walk through this. Like
right,
switching that mindset. Like if I'm
right.
interested to think about the 20s, 30s, and even 40s age version of you and where you were through all of that. Like how old were you when you woke up in Austin with that darkness and that realization that something has to shift for you?
I was in late 20s, early 30s, like 29, 30, right in there, right in
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Now
Yeah.
I'd had the Alan Watts training, so I had in the back of my mind, I had the words.
Mhm.
I had the talk, but I didn't have the walk, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I knew the formula. I had been
Yeah.
taught the formula, but I hadn't felt the formula, you know?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that was the beginning, my late 20s. So but I would well, first well, you're talking about pain. I mean, all through school, I absolutely, hated school because of my ADD, and people didn't know what that was in those days, and
Right.
so I couldn't read. I had terrible time reading, and so I got really low grades and graduated second to the bottom in my class in high school and flunked out of college. That's when I went into the Navy. So
Mm.
I knew about pain and misery, early in my life.
Mhm.
That was the first introduction, and then my parents got divorced. But I gotta be honest, the divorce really didn't bother me because Dad wasn't around that much anyway.
Mhm.
So when I heard they were getting divorced, that really didn't affect me emotionally as much as I thought it would. But,
Right.
but the school was really hard. It was just,
Mhm.
it was really hard. I barely remembered anything from it other than art.
Yeah.
Anytime I did an art class or a woodworking class or music class, I'm in. I am so in.
Yeah.
Everything else, I'm a one-trick pony. I'm an artist and a musician, and that's it, So
Well,
that
it
was
sounds
really
like to me that finding your path really is something that can create that peaceful intention. Like in diving into when you say that's
right.
where I really found it. Like that's like you throw me woodworking, you throw me art, you throw me music,
Well,
you throw me that
that's
creative
yes.
stuff, that's me. And that to me sounds like when you find that vein that really is you, that opens up a whole well of peacefulness. I believe from what
What
I'm
happened what happened to me was when the the door was open to severe pain
Mhm.
and darkness, I realized I had to do something about it. So I went to therapy.
Mm.
That was the first thing.
Yeah.
And my counselor or therapist was so good. I went to her for about 4.5 years, pretty steady. And by the time I was done with that, I really was on the road because I was in terrible pain. What caused the second major pain in my life was my divorce from my first wife, the baby mom. I have two beautiful children who I love to the ends of the earth. Uh, and so leaving them was the singular, I think, most painful thing I've ever done, ever had to live through, was leaving my children. Uh, that was just, so I once again sunk into that darkness that I'd had in Austin. It was familiar to me at that point.
Mm. Yeah.
Uh, so I went to therapy, and the therapist 4.5 years later, uh, I had gotten to a place through meditation, through
Mhm.
breathing, through creating a sense of quietness and nothingness
Mm. Yeah.
for a short period of time. It doesn't, meditation for me, again, so ADD is, it doesn't last long, it doesn't take long for me.
Mhm.
But that sense of peace, I realized I had to start doing stuff. Also, exercise. I started jogging, and
Okay.
that really, oh man, it fills you with what's the stuff that you get, the
The endorphins. Yeah.
endorphin.
Yeah.
So meditation, therapy, exercise, and maybe on the top of the list, once again, it's music and
Yeah.
art.
Yeah.
At this time, I wasn't doing too much art, and I was doing a lot of music. And so music, I was producing other artists. I produced an artist, wonderful friend of mine. He's kind of like a brother, really, from another mother, a fellow named Rex Foster, uh, and he's unfortunately passed away recently. But I produced some albums on him, and it's like hanging out with my brother. So it was so much fun, and the creative process and diving into this thing, really, it just wipes out the darkness. This the sense of uh, the sense of pain and so forth. And so meditation,
Mhm.
exercise, art, music, and jogging. And I realized later I started walking. I quit jogging, but I always walk. And I realized nature is the
Mm.
other major factor in my sense of peace.
Yeah.
When I go to Radnor Lake here, and Radnor Lake is my church. That's where I go.
Yeah.
I try to go every day to my church, and I walk up the upper trails where it's just really quiet, and the birds are flittering around in the trees, and the turkeys are wandering through, and the deer, it's just beautiful, and the turtles in the lake. It's just so peaceful, so peaceful. And I see the patterns in the leaves and on the ground and the dead wood, it all looks like art to me. It's
Yeah.
all just a beautiful, it's God's painting, right? Just
Mhm.
and there's something about the living earth surrounding me, the living earth surrounding me, that just tells me, that this is the miracle of God. This is the miracle of the universe.
Mhm.
This is this is this is it. Look at that tree. Look at those leaves on the ground. Look at that chipmunk. You talk about miracles. It just brings me back to the peaceful recognition of the miracle of life.
Right.
And I leave there, in a much more enlightened state, much more joyful place to get into my day.
Mhm.
It's just nature is just a real, it's just living
Yeah.
proof that God exists. In my personal opinion, that's
Yeah.
when I see a tree or a turkey or a frog or whatever. There's something about it, it's different than walking down my street in my neighborhood when I see houses and toys and kids. And there's something familiar about that, but at the same time, I don't get the God connection. Sometimes I do with children. Children do that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but in the nature, you're just surrounded by this sense of godly beauty. You
Mm.
know, God just talks to me through nature.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely wonderful. So I get connected that way as well. Uh,
Yeah. I think about the familiarity of darkness that you've talked about, the different points in time in your life where you've had those pieces of darkness where you've had to say, okay, I recognize what's going on. So I have this awareness about it. But I think the familiarity of the darkness and being able to overcome it by the tools that you talked about, finding what works for you to be able to
mhm,
recenter you, if you
yeah,
will, recalibrate you and kind
right.
of bring you back to that center point is what you're talking about. And
Well,
gosh,
yeah,
how important is that for all of us to find that place? Because that's ultimately what brings us inner peace. And what brings you inner peace may not bring me inner peace, but the importance of
yeah,
uncovering those things when we fall into that familiar gunk and familiar mud is so important to getting us back into alignment with ourselves.
it
And
seems
that's
to
what
me, yeah, that's what Buddha said, and that's what I say. I don't necessarily think that maybe there may be other people that just arrive there through very little conflict in their lives. I actually know several people that have grown up in great wealth and have actually had very peaceful and joyous lives with very, 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 very little conflict anywhere.
Mm.
And they're very good friends. And I would say that they are enlightened. They have just they have just come in their own mind, in their own spirit, has yearned for a higher place. So
Mhm.
even without too much pain, they've gone searching, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and so, but at the same time, for me, it really did help. It really helped for me to bottom out several times, as I've said earlier. I've
mhm.
bottomed out, at least 3 times in my life. I've hit rock solid rock bottom.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's a great place to look up. When you're at the bottom, the only way you can look is up.
Yeah.
Uh,
So when you think about being in those rock bottom places where there's like, what do you what did you reach for in those times? Because I mean, even I was talking about people, if you have 1% of hope and 1% of light and 1% of an opening, like then you can start to climb out of that darkness. But I think so many people tend to associate their life with that darkness and think, oh, here we go again. It's always going to be me. I'm this way. This always happens to me. I've heard so many people talk about if it's going to
Well,
happen,
you're
it's
talking
going to
about
happen to me.
my old friend, depression.
Yeah, yeah, just getting stuck and not being able
because,
to pull
yeah,
out
well,
that.
you know, I've always struggled with self loathing
Mhm.
from my childhood. Because I had such a tough time in school. I just, I had a very low self-worth when it came to just, like living your life other than, I loved to fish when I was a kid. So fishing was a great relief for me, and art was a great relief. And then when I learned to play the guitar at 12, that was also so I had those reliefs, on the sidelines.
Yeah.
But the main portion of my life, a lot of it was, through school was a mess.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, I can't remember where I was going with that. But what was your original question? I
Well, we're
forgot where
talking
I was
about
going.
when you're in that bottoming out kind of place, and how do you find before you had all of the tools in place that you do now? Like for people that may be listening and are in that bottom out place, what would you say to them? What would you say? I love what you just said. Along the way, you found the reliefs on the sidelines. And I think that's really profound because you had to do work to do that,
Well,
right?
I think everyone wants to feel joy and happiness in their life. I think that's just a natural.
Mhm.
We talk about,
Mm.
um, yeah, I think if you interviewed anyone anywhere in the world, they would say, yeah, I would like to be happy. I
Yeah.
would like to have food. I would like to have clothing. I would like to have shelter. I would like to have love in my life. I'd like to have community. I'd like to have a job. I mean, you just want to have you want to have those things. So just I think the inbred will to do more than survive, you know. I think if anyone, no matter how low they were, if they say we're gonna let you, we're gonna give you this job, we're gonna give you this house. I can't imagine, or whatever their dream was. Maybe some people want to travel. That's their dream. Says we're going to give you this car and an unlimited credit card for gas, and whatever their joy is, they're going to go there. They're going to
Yeah.
go to the joy. So
Yeah.
I think recognizing that, uh, knowing that they're well. Let's see. When you're down, sometimes you feel like there is no hope. I do
Mhm.
know that for a fact. Um, but I don't know what pulled me out. I guess I just there's something way down, 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 deep, 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 deep inside that told me this can be fixed. Well, one of the
Mhm.
things that may have told me that was the fact that I've had great joyous periods of my life. When I was a musician in San Francisco, I had long periods of joy. In Austin, before I hit that dark, steamroller, I was having great joy. So I knew that it was there, and I wanted to return to that. You
Mm,
know,
yeah.
so that was the motivation for me, was to get back just to get back to level.
Yeah.
And then I realized, after getting to level, I realized, oh wait, I can go higher than that, because I think, I'm above, as far as we know, I'm above all the other animals in that I can reason, and I can
Mhm.
think. So therefore, I could work at going higher than
Mhm.
just neutral. In other words, just having a job, coming home, watching TV, going to bed. You know, I could go higher. And then Alan Watts comes back and talks to me. So I think, possibly reading a little bit, finding a book, maybe, there's so many self-help books out there, and some of them are really, really valuable and good. And, each one of those, there's a book that might resonate for, the people that are listening to this. One book may not,
Right.
but another one might. So, it's a question of wanting to seek it out, wanting to get, wanting to, like you said, people naturally want to feel good. I mean, feeling good is, that's part of life. But,
Right.
being at inner peace is one of the best feel-good things you can ever have.
Yeah.
And it's the basis for it's the basis for the way I live now today, in a state of total inner peace, total a relaxed, unegotistical sense of confidence. It's a very peaceful and mild and gentle sense of confidence that I am centered, I am who I am, and I can radiate that out to the world through
Yeah.
my art, right? I have a sense of total forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I forgive all things at all times. I don't hold grudges because that's there's little drops of poison,
Yes.
in my pool of in my delicious cup of wine, of life. Not forgiving someone is just dropping that poison in there, and I don't want any poison. Boundaries, important to have boundaries,
Yes. Yes.
in your life, but I just don't hold grudges. When I get into a argument or something with somebody, um, I always own up to my part of it. I try with my ADD, it's difficult, but I always try to listen to other people.
Yeah.
I try, and when I hear someone, I acknowledge that I hear you, I understand you, I sympathize with you, right? Uh, and so those are important things, and that's what I do with my pain now. And I learned this through uh, what's her name? The gal that I talked about. Um, uh, well, her name would have come to me. It's not Deepak Shak.
It's
It's
not Deepak. No.
no.
I know.
Although his stuff is great,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the woman that lives in Newfoundland. She has a thing up there. Um, oh, I forgot her name. Anyway, she's the one that taught me about that peace is a verb. It's active.
Yes. Yeah.
Peace isn't a noun, it's a verb. It's an ongoing process of joyous work,
Yeah.
of
I love that.
joyous work. You know, the feeling that sense, and realizing, getting back to forgiveness, um, owning up to what's happened, having your boundaries, but learning that when you let things go, you feel so much better. That is
Yes.
part of the journey to peace,
Right.
is unconditional forgiveness. Another little aspect that I have is I celebrate death. You know, I'm a little bit weird about death. A lot of people, are, who death. I don't, I think Woody Allen says, I don't mind death. I just don't want to be there when it happens.
Right. I love it. Yeah.
Just don't want to be there. So, but death doesn't bother me.
Hmm.
Death actually, it's weird. It's not that I look forward to it because I love life here on earth. But when it happens, it will be the most interesting and mysterious wonder. I never ever worry about death being something dark or being something blank. Death is rich and
Yeah.
full and mysterious and total bliss,
Right.
total bliss. Like when you eat that Krispy Kreme donut and you take that first bite, and your brain just goes, and you just, wow, that is the best thing I ever ate. You will feel that way all the time. You will be Krispy Kreme forever.
Right. Well, what I hear you saying so much here is that things can be fixed. Life and processes and experiences can
Yes,
be corrected. And
yes,
there's always possibility. And in living in possibility, when you live in possibility, it extends out where you can find that peaceful notion for yourself. Because I
right.
think it opens up curiosity about life. I think it opens up curiosity about our experiences and about who we are as we move through the world. And
Curiosity is a
ultimately,
great word. You
yeah.
know, I would think part of the peaceful nature of things would be a natural curiosity.
Yeah.
Is stretching your mind out and discovering new things. That's why people love to travel, for instance, is because they want to meet new societies. They want to have new adventures, see new cultures, the way other people live, and find the similarities around the world. We're all the same, inside. We're all the same. So it brings people together, or it can, yeah, and
Yeah.
it does for me, and I know it does for the people that I know that travel. Their life is much more enriched, and their feeling of inner peace is much more secure. I now have reached a sense of inner peace to where I'm giving back to my community now. I do Meals on Wheels, and then
Oh, I
I do,
love that. I do too. Love
yeah,
it.
good. See, that's great.
Yeah.
Uh, I love my group. I love the people that I go see. I just did it yesterday, and I saw some folks. They put me on a route that I hadn't been on in a while, and we just literally were so glad to see each other. We hugged each other. The people I give them food to. Oh,
Yeah.
Nancy, I haven't seen you in a while. Ed, how you doing? We celebrate each other, and they feel so good about having their meal and having these people that smile come to them, and it fulfills my life. I call the girls at the Meals on Wheels. I call them my Wellbutrin girls,
I love it.
because they
Well,
make me. They literally give me a shot
yeah.
of joy. When I go there, I literally wake up in the morning of my Meals on Wheels mornings, and I go, all right, today's Meals on Wheels. I do it Tuesdays and Thursday every single week, and I just look forward. I just make my coffee, and I'm thinking about a little breakfast and stuff, and just anticipating getting in my car and heading out there. It's just giving back to the community, and then giving to the veterans,
Mhm.
giving back to them is really, really important to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Well, I
part
think
of
that says so
peace.
much about inner peace because when we can contribute and celebrate life like that, that brings a contentment to us. I know I've experienced that when I am in my own way and I'm kind of in my own mud. If I can get outside of myself long enough to acknowledge someone else, to give back to a community in some capacity, it actually starts the first step for me out of that mud you've been talking about.
Mhm,
When you
mhm.
step out of that mud, then you can see those possibilities for what this experience can teach me. What can I take from this? What can I be grateful to it for? And then can I expand my look and come from underneath the basement to the basement, and then from the basement to the first floor, and then from the first floor to the
Right,
second.
right, right.
You continually are working at that. And I just love that you live in such possibility. I think that's
Yes,
such a
yes.
huge
And
piece.
remember, when you're at your lowest, all you can do is look up,
Mhm.
look up at the blue sky. And so to me, there's hope in the lowest moment, that things can be better. Just understand, hey man, it can't get any worse, right?
Yeah.
When you're just feeling that, at the bottom pits of everything. I think also the people around me helped me. When I was hitting my very first low, well, I had a band, and my mates, were such great support for me. So it might be mentioned that having support will help you gain peace. You know, having the people around you. And if you don't have any of that, go seek it out. You know, go to an AA. There's a million kinds of AA. There's Workaholics Anonymous. If work is bringing you down, there's Candy Anonymous. I would imagine it doesn't have to be alcoholic. It can be any kind of any kind of thing, any kind of group like that, where you share, and you realize, oh wow, man, there's other people that feel like this. Oh, that's great. But my bandmates, really, really, really were understanding and so good at supporting me when I was feeling, horrible. They carried the PA system for me, stuff like that.
But they were community, and that's that connection.
Community is important. Yeah.
Yeah. When you have that connection, it helps you feel plugged. Well, first of all, I love it. You have to search that out. You have to plug into something.
Right. Peace is a verb. You have to,
that peace is a verb.
I always struggle with it. I had that sense of self-loathing for years and years and years. And it was art that pulled me out of it. It was art that got me. At first, it was visual art. I don't know if I have one here or not. Let me see if do I have one of those drawings? Oh, I have a little one here. A little one.
Are you going to show us some of your art?
Well, I just have one just sitting here.
Okay.
So, and this was just something I did, like really quickly. I did that in about 5 minutes. I thought I had another one that's a little bit more complicated. But at any rate, art was the first thing that started about 3 years ago, because I'd given up art for years and years and years to be a songwriter in Nashville. And then when I retired, a friend of mine, I think I might even have it up here. Do I have that pen up here? No, it's downstairs. It's downstairs. Or is it? Yeah, it's downstairs. A friend of mine talked me into buying a $70 ink fountain pen, which is an artist's pen. Yeah. It's a sketch pen, a real ink pen. And it sat in my, I'll show you this thing. This sits on my desk. It's got pens and stuff in it. It sat there for months. And one day I looked at it and I went, you spent $70 on that thing. You should
let's use it.
Maybe you should do it. And my friend was very smart. He said, start small. Start. And so 3x5 card.
Yeah. I think that's the key.
And that's what I did. I started making little tiny drawings. And I cannot explain the explosion of bliss and joy I had with that pen and those little 3x5 cards.
Oh, I love that.
It happened instantly.
Yeah.
The minute I put my pen onto that page, I just, oh my God, the pen was moving. I'm going, what are you doing? What's going on?
Yeah.
And I just had I had all this art to release that had been, just pent up inside. And so the art thing just really brought me around to not only inner peace, but a path to inner confidence. And then all my guitars here, I don't know if you can see. Let me see if I can lift up.
I see that.
Let me see if I can lift this up here and you can see.
Right. All of your musical babies
guitars,
right
there. On the walls everywhere. These beautiful instruments. There's my, right down there. That's the one right next to me. I'm working on this one right now. This is my J45. J45 Cutaway. I'm a big fan of Cutaway.
Okay.
I don't know why.
If people that can't see this, what Rick is showing is the guitars that he works with and he works on. And
right. Oh yeah.
Creative piece.
Yes.
So I
like to fish too.
Yes, I saw the fish.
Yeah. Fishing makes me feel very at peace. Why? I'm in nature. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I get out on my little fishing kayak, and I'm absolute bliss. If I don't catch any fish, I leave a better person,
Yeah.
and I'm a catch and release guy anyway. So if I hook a fish, I consider it caught, whether I get it to the boat or not. I go, I fooled one fish. I fooled the fish into hitting my lure. And if he didn't hit it quite enough to hook it, fine. I
Yeah.
consider that a catch, and when I get him to the boat, if I can wiggle the lure off without even touching the fish, that's great. If I have to hold it, then I will hold it for the briefest amount of time and then let it go. But yeah.
But here's what I hear you saying is you have to find the things that work for you. You have to find
Mhm.
the things that you plug into that create that peace for you. And
Right,
another thing is, dude, you're so worth, your life is worth that happening. Your life is worth taking those small baby steps. Like the pen that sat in your cup for months and you're like, maybe maybe today is the day
right,
that I try this. Maybe
right.
today is the day that I give this a shot. So let me just ask you one more thing before we have to close up. Tell me a little bit about what you would say to somebody and maybe some personal guidance, maybe some encouraging words to somebody that may be struggling right now to feel like they have inner chaos. They have this self inner loathing like that you have walked through and that place, that darkness. And they may be going, I just don't know which direction to go. I just don't know which is the right place to be at. I feel helpless to change this. What would you say to somebody that may be experiencing that today based on your experience for yourself?
We've been talking about this the whole time, the whole session. I don't know if I have anything new to say about it other than what that we've been talking about, but there is definitely a way that you can be better. 100% guarantee that no matter how bad you feel, no matter how dark your day is, 100% there is a way to be better. There is a path to your feeling normal again. Absolute, absolute. I would recommend therapy. In Nashville, they have a family and children's services. They have a sliding scale. That's where I got all my counseling from a
Yeah.
wonderful gal named Susan. I can't remember her last name anymore, but I paid $5
Yeah, it's
once
possible.
a week. And
Mhm.
I mean, I could not wait to get there. I
Yeah.
just, talking to her and talking through things, reach out to your friends, reach
Mhm.
out to community,
Mhm.
you know, share your darkness. Don't keep it to yourself.
Mm.
Reach out to your friends and family and just confess. Say, I just feel the worst I've ever felt in my life. I need help. I need help. So, and just know, all you people that are hitting the lowest low, there is 100% guaranteed way to get out, and it's not that hard.
Yeah.
Peace is free. Doesn't cost a single cent. I don't care how poor you are. You can have a sense, you can regain a sense of centeredness and a sense of peace to tackle your worst problems. And that your worst problems may not seem as bad as they were. I mean, I have cancer, and I literally I literally take all those things in my life that are triggers for my doubt and pain. I include them in my life. I do not try to get rid of them and to block them out. I include them in my house. I listen to them. I acknowledge, and
Mhm.
and I uh, I agree. What's the word? I understand them. I say,
Yes.
yes, I hear you. I feel you. I I I completely understand where you're coming from, and I understand. I hear you, and then And then I say to them, all these pains and things I have, I say, I have to get into my day now. So I'm going to leave you in this big, huge rec room. You're going to have all the toys and all the things you need to keep happy. I'm just going to slip out here, and I'm going to get into this other part of the house where I do all my writing and my creating and my family life. Oh, I have to mention in closing, cooking.
Okay. Oh,
I
okay.
love cooking is a form of peace for me.
Yes. Yes.
It's a form of meditation. It's it's an art. It's a form of art, really.
Yeah.
And a nice bottle of wine to go along with that.
That's great.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that
Yeah.
at the end. But I include my pain and my suffering, and I let them be heard. And then I say, I can't hang out with you any longer. You've had your moment with me, and I've absorbed all that, and I realize that that you're real and you're part of me. Now I have to go and do some other things. We'll revisit. Let's say tomorrow, like 9 a.m. Would that be okay for you guys? Okay, good. Well, then, I'll see you later. And then I get into my day. But I don't, I realize it's kind of a moot point to try to cast out all the memories that you have of your pain and so forth. You just have to come to peace with it and live with it in a peaceful way where it's not running your life.
Oh, amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Totally. Rick, you have been delightful. Thank you so much for sharing so vulnerably all of your path, all of your experiences, and where you were and how you got to where you are now, and how you continue to work. Because that's the piece. We're never done working.
Yeah.
We're never done.
I hit a little, I call it the black dog, which is what Winston Churchill called it.
Yeah.
The black dog bit me just 2 days ago. And but I recognized the black dog, and I said, I see you, I hear you, you're worried, blah, 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 whatever it was, and I go digging down to see what it might be that caused it. And I say, I hear that. Yeah. Okay. That's for real. Yeah. I acknowledge you. Okay. We'll let you hang around for a minute, and we'll just get into it for a minute, and then we're going to put you aside. Sure enough, the next day I was fine.
Yeah.
It lasted it was about a day, but the fact that I acknowledged it right away, it allows you to stay afloat a little bit.
Right.
I no longer go deep, dark down, because I feel it and I know it's coming, and I recognize it. Go, oh yeah, hey buddy, how you doing? I mean, literally, it is literally like that. I mean, I literally talk, not out loud, but I say, I know who you are, and I know why you are that way. I have all my little lists of what causes me what my little triggers. And I say, oh yeah, you're this trigger. Okay. You're not worthy. Art's no good, blah, blah, blah. These things that artists have. Yeah. And then I acknowledge it. And then I can get on with it. I have it down, but then I sweep up just enough to where I can live the rest of the day. And then the next day, gone.
Well, it's a possibility.
Joy comes back.
Yeah.
The triggers are still there, but they're in their room playing over here.
Yeah, it's acknowledgement, and it's living in that possibility.
Yeah.
Everyone can do. I loved all of it. Peace is a verb, guys. Never forget it. Peace is a verb. Yeah. Rick, thank you so much. Give your beautiful wife a big squeeze and a hug. And I want you guys to have the wonderful, wonderful day that you deserve, wonderful weekend that you deserve. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
And enjoy the snowgeddon.
We're supposed to get snowmageddon.
Or the ice-geddon.
Ice-geddon,
yeah. I'm getting out. As soon as we're done here, I've got a list of things I have to go get. Luckily, it's not groceries.
You are so fortunate. Yeah.
I have to get things like those little wall warts. We're short on wall warts. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go to some gas stations. They usually have them there right by the counter,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
sitting there, and I just need to get a couple of little cheap, wall warts
Well,
for
you go get them.
to help charge stuff. And yeah,
You go
yeah,
get them.
yep.
You go get him. Tell your sweet wife I said hello,
I
and we will
will.
talk
I will,
again
Deanna.
soon.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Rick.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, same here.